Around the Commonwealth of Virginia, thousands upon thousands of citizens are waking up to the realization that the solidified power in Richmond is against their Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms, and that this ideological shift in power, which happened overnight during the election in November 2019, must be corrected by the voice of the people. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill, led by Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia, have spearheaded an effort to completely erode the constitutionality of the Second Amendment and your right to keep and bear arms in Virginia. In response to an overwhelming support of movement for the Second Amendment and sanctuary city status, Ralph Northam and his team of Democrats have continued to oppose us in many different ways. The presentation here will outline a timeline of events to share with you how Ralph Northam has opposed us through law through his Democratic colleagues in order to take away and strip our Second Amendment rights. This despotic overreach of power has manifested itself such that Donald McEachin, member of the United States House of Representatives representing Virginia's 4th District, suggested that the governor could use the Virginia National Guard to enforce laws in sanctuary city counties, which also implies that the Guard could be used in a confiscation of such weapons after registration. Our timeline begins with a shift in power on November 5, 2019, when Democrats took back many seats generally held by Republicans and switched the balance of power in both the General Assembly and the Senate. With the Democrats in power, Dick Saslaw, a longtime Democratic leader in Virginia, takes the opportunity to begin pre-filing legislation for the 2020 session. This legislation is on file to be heard January 8th during the first session of the legislative season of 2020. The positions which were overturned do not actually evict their office until January 8th. Yet we see here that the Democrats are working very hard. Just after the election on November 5th, when the results were certified, by November 18th, these laws begin being pre-filed, and that's when the sanctuary city movement begins. We will come back to a short overview of these bills in just a moment. For now, we'd like to talk about Phillip Van Cleave and the Virginia Citizens Defense League. If you look around Virginia, you'll notice the only organization currently fighting the good fight is the Virginia Citizens Defense League. The VCDL, run by Phillip Van Cleave, has been fighting tyranny for the Second Amendment rights of Virginia citizens for over 20 years. This started as a big issue with preemption when Phillip Van Cleave felt motivated to fight for rights of Virginians who lived in cities and towns that were making laws which were more repressive than the state laws, specifically the state constitution. Being instrumental in helping getting preemption passed, Phillip Van Cleave continued his fight to help make awareness of the Second Amendment known throughout the Commonwealth. VCDL's vigilance has paid off time and again by making Virginian citizens aware of the unconstitutional or irreparable laws which are coming down the way. In this instance, the VCDL saw the bills pre-filed by Dick Saslaw and immediately issued a resolution that could be used in any county, copy and paste, for the formation of sanctuary cities and counties. That singular act is responsible for over 75 counties, 10 cities, and 9 towns, as reported by Va2A.com, who have had their Board of Supervisors or City Councils vote to uphold the Second Amendment in these localities. The totality of these 95 independent cities, towns, and counties has a population of over 2 million people and roughly 300,000 rifles owned legally by law-abiding citizens within their ranks. Returning to the pre-filed legislation introduced by Dick Saslaw and others, we see that on November 18th, just 13 days after the results of the election, Senate Bill 22 is pre-filed, which prohibits any person who is not a licensed firearm dealer from purchasing more than one handgun in a 30-day period, and classifies such action as a Class 1 misdemeanor. Following on its heels is Senate Bill 18, which is the Universal Background Check Bill. This also has a special poison pill in it that makes it illegal and a Class 1 misdemeanor if for some reason you do not secure your firearm properly. Lovers of tyranny will enjoy this one. Senate Bill 35 aims to undo the preemption bill which the VCDL fought so hard to make sure you had. SB 35 authorizes any locality by ordinance to prohibit the possession of carrying of firearms, ammunition, or components of any combination thereof in a public space during a permitted event, such as Harbor Fest, the Chesapeake Jubilee, or the Strawberry Festival. Senate Bill 15 will make it illegal to carry a weapon into any building leased or owned by the Commonwealth. These are public buildings paid for by taxpayer money, which you are not allowed to carry in. Doing so will make you guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor. House Bill 9 requires you to report a lost or stolen firearm within 24 hours. Otherwise, you will be charged a $250 fine. Do you remember Senate Bill 22? Well, Senate Bill 69 aims to do the exact same thing. But in case Senate Bill 22 doesn't make it, they have two shots at making sure, if you're not a licensed FFL, that you will not be able to purchase more than one handgun per month. Continuing in the tradition of copy and paste from Senate Bill 22, we also have Senate Bill 18. If that's familiar, Senate Bill 70 looks to do the exact same thing. Once again, this is an attempt to have two shots at the same bill during the same legislative season. Just like Senate Bill 18, Senate Bill 70 requires mandatory universal background checks for all sales and includes the additional poison pill about gun safety and locking up your firearm. If you don't follow certain procedures, you will be guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor. Senate Bill 71 expands the prohibition of firearms on school property to include daycare facilities, private schools, and other institutions not commonly understood to be public school system institutions. At the time of this recording, it also does not address concealed permit carry holders who currently have the ability to maintain their firearm in their locked vehicle while on school property and holding their concealed carry permit as well as identification. House Bill 67 takes aim directly at law enforcement officers and municipalities which have voted for Second Amendment sanctuary status. This states specifically that those who choose to uphold the Constitution, yet don't uphold the state law as they write in this bill, will be immediately evicted and fired from their position. And those oath keepers will not be eligible for reemployment with the state for a period of 1 year. This bill includes quite a bit of posturing, as there is no way that the governor can fire any duly elected sheriff or fire any sheriff's deputy deputized by that sheriff. In fact, this bill specifically targets cities and towns that receive state funds in order to run their policing departments. Democrats of the Virginia Party are so concerned about your right to keep and bear arms that they propose Senate Bill 64, the Paramilitary Activity Bill. This heinous bill makes anyone who teaches or demonstrates, trains or instructs a person in the use of a firearm or any other type of martial art or activity which could bring distress or disturbance to others, and it makes marching, assembling with one or more persons, or demonstrating with a firearm illegal, guilty of a Class 5 felony. Rounding out the bills proposed for legislation in the 2020 session that oppose citizens' rights is Senate Bill 113. This repeals the requirement to have a photo identification during the time of voting and makes it really easy for dead people to vote and for voter fraud to take place. Now is the time, more than ever, that our voice needs to be heard. The actions of the governor and the comments that he's made recently about consequences and that Donald McEachin have made about using the National Guard suggest that our efforts are working, because these punitive actions proposed by the governor and others show nothing more than a reaction to our overwhelming voice. Share this video with a friend. Make your voice known, show up to sanctuary city meetings, and be heard. I'm Robert Ham for Virginia Second Amendment News, reporting for your rights. Thank you for watching.